everyone, welcome back to Z Talks with your host, Zaria Musgrove, where I talk about books, movies, TV shows, places, and things that relate to history and classic literature. Now, today you can see that I have a guest with me here. Our guest is a really prominent person in the Turks and Caicos Islands community, not only on the business scene for being the first local person to be the CEO of Cable and Wireless, but also in the local community for his consistent publishing of articles that relate to Turks and Caicos news, culture, and our future. So I would like to welcome our first guest of 2026, Drexwell Seymour.
Well, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here, and thanks for having me. And glad to be the first guest for 2026.
Yes,
Mhm.
hopefully not the last, but I'm glad you
I'm
are
quite
the
sure
first.
we're the last. Mhm.
So I was researching you, just doing a bit of research on your background before I did this episode. And one thing that interested me the most was that you actually were born and grew up in South Caicos. Now, I haven't met a person that was born and grew up in South Caicos, so I'll
Really?
say that you're the first. You are my first.
Seriously?
Yes, I've met people from there, but not born there as
Oh,
well.
okay, okay.
So that is the first. And
Hmm.
for me, I don't know as much about that island as the other islands. So I would like to ask you, just growing up there and when you cast your mind back, what's something that immediately comes to your mind first when you think about South Caicos?
I think one of the things that really came to my mind is more like community oriented.
Okay.
Yeah, we didn't have much, but we look out for each other. I remember we go to our neighbors, we borrow salt, we had sugar. That's just
Nice.
how it was, you know. I mean, so community spirit.
Okay, I can see that because I know that South Caicos has a very small population.
Yes.
So I'm imagining that is very close knit. Is it the type where you just show up at somebody's house, you spend the day, or I'm imagining that it's very church oriented as well. So is that a strong, prominent thing in the community? The just that those themes of
Well, I don't know about now, but back
okay,
then it was. We went to church, I think, twice on Sundays.
okay,
We just showed up to our neighbors. Our neighbors were like families. In fact, some of our neighbors were closer than families. We just show up to each other. We when we cook, we share our food with each other. And then some of us didn't have television growing up.
okay,
Some of our neighbors had television, so we go to our neighbors after school. We go and watch TV. Then we play. I think we call it rounders back then. We play with
okay.
each other. That's just how it was growing up. We just hang out at each other's house like we were family.
Okay, so I'm hearing that it's very close knit. And in that vein of South Caicos being close knit, do you think that there were any stories that you guys heard? Because me as a history person, I did some light reading, and one thing that obviously stuck out was the history around salt,
Hmm.
the history, unfortunately, around the narcotics. So those were things that popped up while I was doing light research. Is that something that people talk about? Is that something that you guys have made your own cultural stories of in South Caicos? And does it shape how you guys see the island, that history, or is it not something that's very prominent in the day to day?
Well, I tell you this: I think the people of South Caicos are very proud people
Hmm.
because at that time we were called the Big South. Of course, we didn't have any buildings or stuff like that to show that, but we had big social entertainment. We had movie theater. We had the Coast Guard base, which is American Navy base.
Okay.
And we had our own high school and primary school with people from North Caicos and Middle Caicos came to have school there to be educated for secondary. And it was just a booming economy. Now, I know a lot of people talk about drugs. Yes, people came to fuel their planes and to get to where their final destination.
Hmm.
But I don't think it's as bad as people say it was. There are a few people who were involved, like getting paid to do that.
Hmm.
But the people themselves was not really involved in drugs.
Hmm.
People got paid, but not necessarily involved in it. I think they painted a bad picture of South Caicos in
Okay.
that aspect, especially since what happened in '85 with our chief minister at that time. I think they portrayed, but South Caicos is a place where we're very proud. I think we're one of the first, as far as I know, we're the first island to have a hotel, the Admiral's Arm.
Okay.
We just was the place. I mean, people from the other, when I speak to people from North Caicos in particular, they were excited to come to South Caicos, because we had electricity. I think the other islands didn't have. Of course, Grand Turk and had it before South Caicos, and so it's a lot of it's a place of memory, a place of social entertainment, and a place of people who are very proud and a lot of accomplishments by the people from South Caicos.
Okay, so I'm hearing one thing that I picked up on there was that you said that a lot of people from the other islands, like Middle and North, would come to South Caicos to go to school. That's something that I didn't know. So it sounds like South Caicos was the center. You have like everyone going there.
Yeah, but Grand Turk, obviously, Grand Turk. There were years when people from South Caicos didn't have a high school; they had to go to Grand Turk.
Okay.
And then South Caicos eventually got a high school, and so people from Middle Caicos and North Caicos and Provo came to South Caicos. Some went to Grand Turk as well, but that was the place.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you think about like South Caicos now versus South Caicos back then, I'm imagining that you visit quite regularly. And when you
I don't visit,
go,
so I should, but I do visit. Yeah.
but when you do visit, what's the main things that stick out in your mind having changed when you think about it? When you think what are some things that have changed the most for you, and some things that surprisingly have stayed the same?
Honestly, I mean, I left South Caicos in 1986. I was
Okay.
16 years old, and the place is basically almost the same as when I left.
Okay.
However, I will tell you this: I'm so pleased that we finally have a major resort, because when I was growing up, I remember in '85 when I graduated from high school, this hotel started, and I was so glad. It never finished. It's like every time something happens, like it's like something else. It didn't continue. And I say, man, there must be a curse on my island. And so when I go back now, I am so excited and pleased to see that finally we have I mean, two major um, tourism developments on the island. And so that really is something I love. When I see tourists coming there, they love the island. And so that's something I'm really happy to be alive and see that come to fruition when I go to South Caicos.
Okay.
Hmm.
Because I know that those developments are ones that happened fairly recently.
Yes,
Salterra only opened this year, and
Sail Rock.
Sail Rock 2017. So within the last under a decade, those are major developments, and the airport direct to Miami opened this year. So you can say
Last year. Yeah.
last year. So I'm still in 2025. But last year, so you can say that it's rapidly going under this major development recently.
You're correct. That is true.
Okay.
It's very recent. Even though where Solterra is, that development had started from the 80s, but somehow it didn't materialize. It was up to third floor. I mean, roof and everything on it. I don't know what happened. And then it just stopped, and then someone else bought it, and it just stopped. And then finally, we have something in the works.
Okay. But as someone from South Caicos, knowing the trajectory that South Caicos is on now, because South Caicos has a small population, but now that these major developments are happening, I'm imagining that there might be some shift towards South Caicos. I won't say maybe as a new center of development. Do you, as a somebody from South Caicos, do you have anything that maybe you would want to be kept in mind in the development, something that you don't want to be lost? Because I'm imagining that there might be a culture change
Yeah.
that will be happening in light of these major developments. Is there something that growing up was the center of culture that you want to be maintained?
Yes, I think that's a very good question. I think we need to maintain our heritage no matter what. And we're in Provo right now, and it's like it's not the same place I came. I moved to Provo in '91. It's like a whole thing has shifted. It's like we've lost many of our traditions. When growing up, we had the mossing, where every Christmas day we had people going from house to house dressed in mossing. If we can maintain that, um, if we can maintain the the community spirit, I know sometimes as places develop, we tend to become self-absorbed. If we could just continue to have that caring spirit, looking out for each other. I think we need to maintain that tradition. Don't lose it because now you're going to be start making money. You think about your own self. Let's continue to look out for each other, and I think that's one of the things about the small islands like Grand Turk and South Caicos and Salt Key.
Mhm.
I think all the islands were like that, but Provo now is developing so much where everybody just on their own. They don't no one is checking for anybody. But we can maintain that spirit of looking out for each other. If we can maintain that, I think we'll be good.
I agree that those cultural, I would say, pillar stones need
Mhm.
to be maintained. And what you said about the masking, I would imagine a lot of my audience wouldn't know about the masking in South Caicos. Are there any other bits of history with South Caicos that you think a lot of people wouldn't know that come from there? Or any bits of South Caicos history that you think might have been lost or people don't really put as much spotlight on?
Well, we were one of the Salt Islands. You remember for years it was Salt Key, Grand Turk, and South Caicos. We had like the three main islands. There are still visibility that salt is there because we still have the salt ponds.
Mhm.
I think in Grand Turk, I believe they had covered some of them up and they built on it, but we haven't done that in South Caicos. There's still the ponds, so that's a big part of our history. Of
Mhm.
course, when the Bermudans came here, that's what they did. They destroyed all of our trees and stuff and build salt ponds. And so that's a big part of our history. So that's still there. It's obvious. So I don't think they're gonna, build on it. I hope not. If we can maintain that, I think that's a big part of our history. It's the salt industry.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Okay. But the salt industry, I feel like is something is very visible because
it
it's
is.
it's called Salki. It's called Salki.
That's salt. Yeah, and
Yeah,
salty. Hmm.
Salki, Salkakis. They're very, they're known as like the Salt Islands.
And it's evident because Grand Turk has ponds as well, even though they cover some of them. But those islands, you can see the salt industry is still there. So we should talk. There are even people who think that we should even look into seeing if we could start it again. But I don't know. I guess
Mm.
the method of how they do salt obviously will be different.
Yeah, so it would definitely be different. I
Yeah,
think as obviously as of now we're moving it towards the tourism age.
yeah.
It wouldn't
I
be
mean, Inagua has still is doing it.
really
Yeah, in the Bahamas, and in fact, some people from South Caicos moved to Inagua as well after our industry had collapsed.
okay.
Hmm.
Wow.
Yeah,
I did not know that.
yeah, and that's why a lot of people ended in the Bahamas, because you notice there are a lot of Turks and Caicos Islanders who are in the Bahamas who left because one of the reasons they left because the economy was doing really badly in Turks and Caicos, and so they went to the Bahamas. Some of that from the salt industry when it collapsed as well. Even
Okay.
prior to the collapse of the salt industry, people moved to the Bahamas.
Okay.
Yeah.
But now that South Caicos is being a center of development, do you think that there would be a shift? Because I know
You mean
that
people moving back there?
yes, because I'm only asking because Provo only a couple years back within my grandmother's lifetime people moved here in mass, in
Yeah,
literally in mass. The population tripled and doubled over her lifetime.
yeah,
So now that we're seeing that this development is happening in South Caicos, do you think the same thing can shift in the other direction? Because there are the water harbor,
hmm,
international flights coming to it,
hmm,
major hotel developments. It's seeming like the blueprint is happening
yeah.
over there as well.
I think there'll be a shift. People will need people to work there, so we're
Hmm.
going to bring people in. But I believe the other people from South Caicos or other islands will move there as well because they may want a more quiet life. And of course, some of us will not move. I mean, because like for me, obviously, I'm well established in Provo. I wouldn't move back to South Caicos. Of course, I'll visit, but there will be a shift because there will be demand for people to come, whether it mean bringing other people from the outside or whether it mean people from other islands moving to South Caicos. But there will be a shift because I understand even the Solterra developers, they're going to be building more condos. Sail Rock is in a continuous process, and so I think there'll be a shift. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um, you said that you might not move back. Maybe you'll be in that shift. You say for now.
Yeah. No, I'm well established. I am well established in Provo. But I will continue to visit. Yeah, because Provo
Okay.
is. I'm from. Of course, I was born in South Caicos, and I lived there for 16 years. but I'm well developed. I'm well established in Provo. Provo is not my home as well. The thing for me, even though I'm from South Caicos, I don't really focus on that too much because what matters to me is that I'm from Turks and Caicos. I don't
Okay.
focus on the island thing. I know a lot of people do that, but I don't. I mean, of course, South Caicos will always be a part of me. As I was born and grew up, that's where it made me who I am today. But the fact that I'm in Turks and Caicos, I think that's what really matters to me. Yeah.
Okay.
And I haven't left Turks and Caicos. Of course, I went away to college and all that, but yeah, I remain in Turks and Caicos, and I will remain in Turks.
Okay.
At least that's my plan.
I'm glad to hear it because
Yeah.
more of us need to.
Yeah. I'm very patriotic. I think this is the best place in the world.
I feel so too.
Yeah.
So, last question before I wrap this up. You said that you focus more on being from Turks and Caicos than South Caicos, but putting that into perspective, just for the listeners who might not know much about either, is there one lasting comment that you would like to make on South Caicos' impact on Turks and Caicos as a whole?
Oh, sure. Well, the good thing about South Caicos, and I think every island, each island is unique. South Caicos is a very unique island. It's one of the smallest islands. But despite our size, we have some very, very, we produce a lot of very prominent people in South Caicos who are proud to be from Turks and Caicos. And I think that's something that we ought to be proud about our heritage, despite the negative labeling that some people have given South Caicos. They're more positive stories about the people. And I think South Caicos is a place where people could go and just enjoy the community life and the quiet life and just relax. And that's what I like about Turks and Caicos. I know a lot of tourists say, "Oh, I don't want to come back. Provo's too developed." Well, you have choices. You could go to South Caicos, you go to Grand Turk, you go to North Caicos, and that's what I like about Turks and Caicos. Each island is different. Even though we just label one island as Turks and Caicos, people go to cruise ship in Grand Turk, they say Turks and Caicos. They come to Provo, they say Turks and Caicos. But each island is unique, and South Caicos is unique. And it's a small island, but it's full of history, and it'll continue to be a significant part of Turks and Caicos.
I believe so as well.
Yeah.
And I definitely agree with that because every island has their own thing.
Yes,
You
yes.
definitely would go, you wouldn't come to Provo if you want the secluded, quiet.
Right. Not anymore.
Not anymore.
Yeah.
You definitely choose one of the
Yeah.
other islands because they do have something to offer.
Yes.
Yes. That is, for our listeners, that is all that we have today on South Caicos. And if you want to learn more, there are a lot of books in the Unicorn Bookstore, actually. The Unicorn Bookstore has a lot of books on South Caicos. But if you want to hear more about Drex and his story and his background and just him as a person, or read any of his articles that he publishes weekly, please let us know where we can find you.
Oh, okay. Well, I have a website. I mean, www.drexwellseymour.com. It has all my articles. And I have a YouTube channel as well with all my shows.
Okay.
And I'm also in the weekly newspaper in Turks and Caicos Sun.
Yes, the Turks and Caicos Sun and the weekly newspaper.
Yes.
So you heard it here. If you want to hear more about him, that is where you can find him. And if you want to listen to more episodes on the podcast, YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts every 2 weeks. But you can keep up on the socials as well, Instagram and TikTok. But if not, just tune back in another 2 weeks for another episode of Sea Talks.
Thank you.
Thank you.